Good morning, everyone. Hope you are doing well. Today, I want to talk about something that I've been wanting to address for a little bit and something that I see quite often when people are asking for, people's opinions or whatever. And I think something that I disagree with most people's opinion on. And so I just want to talk about it here really quick and get your guys' thoughts on it. So I'd love to hear from you. On your thoughts. I know that there's quite a few people who agree with me and some people who don't, so that's totally good and probably just a preference in play style. But let's chat about the ratio between net worth and invest. I see a lot of people post their player card and say, how am I doing? Whatever, how's my progress? And people are like, oh my gosh, your net worth to invest ratio is horrible. You got to get that up. No one's going to recruit you, blah, blah, blah. I think that is completely false and kind of honestly ridiculous. There's a few reasons why I say that. So here you can see that it's about 50%, a little bit better than that actually on this account. But in a little bit, we're going to switch over to my main and I'll show you what I'm sitting at there and explain to you why I think that this notion of having a really good invest to net worth ratio is kind of ridiculous. So a lot of people, when they're selling through inventory, are going to be selling items normally. Let's say you have an item worth 100K and you sell that item for 200K, for example. So for the most part, if you're buying that item from the market, which I'll show you in a little bit, let's say you're getting 200K from that item and 50K of that is profit if you're buying it from market, okay? So your net worth is increasing by 200K and your profit essentially is increasing by 50K, okay? So that's 25% profit compared to net worth. Now, let's say if you then went to your inventory and then added some enchantments to the same item and increased the value by 100K. So let's say we increased the value by 100K, but that enchant that I just put on there costed me like 90K and I'm only profiting like 10K, 20K from that item now, right? So now when I sell that item, now maybe I'm only making 70K profit instead of 50K profit. So I'm actually increasing my profit more, but my net worth is going up twice as much. So if my net worth is now going up by 400K instead of 200K, it's actually double, but my profit is only going up 20K. So it's not doubling the profit, but it is doubling my net worth. So does that mean that I'm now a worse player because I enchanted that gear and made extra gold? And so then my ratio of investment or how much money I've actually made compared to how much my net worth has gone up means that I'm a worse player? I would say absolutely not. So let's switch over to the main, look at some of these things in market and I'll explain my reasoning. Okay, so we've switched over. So here's my main account. So let's look at my invest ratio. So this is 1 to 3.5. So obviously a lot worse than what it was on the other one. And this ratio has actually changed drastically compared to what it was before. I was actually at over 300 billion net with only 60 billion invest. So it was 5 times, 20%, okay? I don't actually think that that's an issue. I don't think that that's a problem. I was free to play for the vast majority of that. My profit was a lot lower than most people's, and I was buying a lot of enchants from market and enchanting my gear with it. So let's look at market. If we go to market, let me just collect all these. Wow, the chests actually filled. That is awesome. Sweet. Okay, anyways. So if you look at enchantments, we're going to go with normal tier 7s. All of these are profitable. Let's say I put this hippo onto an item. It increases the value by 130K. I surcharge that. I get 260K back, and it's 194. So this is 65K profit. This one, you put it on an item, you're getting 193K. It costs you 168. So you're still making 25K or whatever from putting this on an item. But your net worth is going to be increasing by 200K or 260K. So the profit that you're getting from enchanting an item and then selling it isn't going to be proportional to the money that you're going to be getting just from selling an item straight up. But I honestly think that if you're just buying a ton of enchantments from the market, you're enchanting your gear, you're getting additional XP, you're getting extra money for free. Sure, your net worth is going to be going up a lot faster. Like it's going to be going up exponentially if you're just enchanting everything that you're selling in your shop. But honestly, just because your net worth might go up, let's say 600K instead of 200K, like 3 times, and your profit is only, let's say 80 or 90K instead of 50K, that means that essentially your net worth might be triple somebody else who's done the same amount of sales as you, essentially, because you've sold the same number of items. You've just done all of your items enchanted. But if you've made almost twice as much gold as they have by doing that, or maybe not even twice, but like marginally more gold than they have by doing that, by putting in more effort, by spending more time buying from market, enchanting the items, surcharging everything, and all that kind of stuff, I don't think that you're a worse player. In fact, I would say that you're a better player because you're willing to put in the time and the effort necessary to further your account by going to market, buying items, enchanting them, selling them in your shop, and making the extra gold that the other person isn't willing to do. So when people say, oh man, your invest ratio is terrible, like what are you doing? No one's going to recruit you. I would say there's a grain of truth to that, because if you're making a ton of gold and you're not investing anything and you're being a greedy player, then sure, like nobody's going to want that in their guild because they know that you're not actually going to help them out when they're in a pinch, or you're pushing for, you know, a building level or a town hall level or something, right? Like I understand that there's an element of teamwork in this game that's necessary and that everybody agrees is absolutely a necessity. But if people are so hung up on whether or not you have, you know, the perfect ratio, when a lot of people don't understand, like if you go to market right now and I'm selling, you know, tier 9, tier 10 items, and I'm putting tier 9 enchantments on it, like normal tier 9 enchants, these are not profitable or barely profitable. This is 10K profit, and that's fairly rare nowadays. This is like a 20K loss, a 40K loss. So if you're deciding to put tier 9 enchants on your items to get your net worth up there or level quickly or whatever it is for you, unless you have like the 1% extra gold from your ascensions, which I don't even have any of them, as you can see. I have the stone one, but that's it. So I have 1% extra. Unless you have those, you're going to be losing money on all of the tier 9 enchants. So if you're putting these tier 9 enchants on all of your items to sell them, essentially you are losing money. You are losing gold. And I understand that. But even so, like your ratio is going to be off. It's not going to be as good as somebody else's who's focused on only profit, investing a ton, and in market, they're just spending a ton of time like selling things in market and not selling them in their shop. And that's the thing, is that once you get past a certain point in the game, you don't know what somebody's done. Somebody could have, you know, 20 billion invest and only 10 million or 10 billion net worth. What does that mean? They either spent a ton of time in market, they used a bunch of gems to invest, they'd never sell in the shop and they only sell in market, or like there's so many things that a player could do that you never even realize. Like, I mean, obviously you realize that it affects it a ton, but we think so, wow, what's with these epics? We think so heavily on the value of the ratio, when reality is somebody could play this game twice as long, have twice as good slots and upgrades and all that stuff, and their ratio could be way worse than somebody who's just put some money on a credit card, did a bunch of investments, and hasn't played the game at all, and doesn't have good upgrades, and doesn't even understand what's going on half the time. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, the whole ratio of net worth to whatever doesn't hold any relevancy in my mind. And I really think that if people have told you, oh, your ratio is really bad, you need to fix that, I disagree. And I think a ratio can indicate whether somebody's a team player or not in some circumstances, but I think in a lot of other circumstances, people put way too much weight on whether or not it's actually a viable way of measuring how good a player is or not, if that makes any sense. So that's all that I want to talk about today. But next week, I'm going to talk about why I think that you should be enchanting every single one of your items past tier 5, why I think that it's good, how to do it effectively, how to look at prices, and kind of what that actually looks like so that your play can be more efficient. you can make more money, free XP, all that kind of stuff. But I'll explain that next week. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one. Peace.